Hello and welcome to As the CMMC Churns. I'm Matt Titcomb, the CEO of Peak InfoSec, an authorized CMMC third-party assessment organization, or C3PAO. Today's episode of As the CMMC Churns is DIBCAC, FIPS, and Temporary Deficiencies. Really, it's about how to successfully pass a DIBCAC assessment with a 31311 FIPS 140-2 Temporary Deficiency. Blech. And as you know, CMMC Churns, none of this ever becomes official after that initial introduction, and then, well, now we're off and already going tongue-tied. So let's jump on in. So we actually completed our second DIBCAC assessment. That is for us as a CMMC third-party assessment organization. We're required to go through our own triennial recertification, and it's really not a certification. Sorry, Matt Travis, if you watch this, because I keep screwing that up. But it's to validate that we have implemented the controls for potentially protecting your sensitive information as an organization. So in that context, when we're looking at that, we completed that at the end of April. Yay! Awesome. And it went incredibly well. We were actually done in 9.5 hours of interviews with DIBCAC. A lot of kudos to Future Feeds tool because it really made it easier for them and for us to get through the process. We are an Apple-centric C3PO, as many people already know about us. We use macOS and iPhones for our staff. We actually will not be shipping out Windows devices to our end users. So kind of got to keep that in mind of going, well, wait a minute. How are you going to handle that? And there's a lot of other fun stuff in that one day we'll talk about. However, we did pass 31311 employ FIPS-validated cryptography when used to protect the confidentiality of CUI with a temporary deficiency and Macs. How did we do it? That's actually what we're going to talk about. How to document your temporary deficiency for your organization. Now, first, we have to understand what is a temporary deficiency and when it applies. So when we look at the definition of a temporary deficiency from 32 CFR Part 170, Paragraph 4B, again, this is the definition section, we get the definition. And always, always, always go back to the regulations, go back to NIST 800, 171, and 171 Alpha, the assessment guides and all that, they're not binding. This stuff is. So when we look at this, it's really a couple key things pop out in here. First and foremost, a temporary deficiency must arise after implementation. So in that context, if this is something that you don't have and it's not there, you can't claim it. But since we were already certified 3 years ago and we were qualified at that point in time for using FIPS, we've had deficiencies and vulnerabilities that have now popped up that we've now had to address. Now, as a result of that, there's actually 4 things in here that you have to understand as conditions really in a temporary deficiency. First, your deficiency must be remediation must be feasible. In the case of this, for FIPS, we're all dependent upon the CVMP from NIST. We all know it takes time. Therefore, it's feasible that it can be done. However, we also have to have it feasible that the platform that this is running on has a known history and process of becoming FIPS validated. It's not like somebody in their sales team's coming out and saying, well, yeah, we're going to pursue it one day, maybe kind of, but we're really not sure and we've never done it before. Feasibility's kind of dropping off right there. The other thing is, we have to know that the fix is underway. Again, when you're looking at the CVMP website, there's 3 stages to this. Really, the first one is it's in process, meaning the vendor has actually started it, it's underway. In test, meaning that CVMP is now evaluating it and then validated as the final state. So by default, we all want to go look at is in one of those 3 stages on the CVMP website. If we can find it, great, you can show me it is in process. And so therefore we know something is coming. Now, likewise, the third one is this deficiency must be documented in that operational plan of action. So you've got to be able to prove that. Now, lastly, we do talk that in this case, we are talking about the FIPS-related vulnerabilities related to this. So the rest of this, we're going to walk through these four. Now, to understand this, as far as we know, we were the first organization that has brought a FIPS-validated temporary deficiency before DIBCAC for a C3PO vulnerability, and they said, we nailed it. So you want to follow this methodology when you're documenting your temporary deficiencies. So first, does the provider offer FIPS-validated hardware and software? Macs do. All Macs by default out of the box are FIPS capable and are designed to handle FIPS. So we have no questions on number one. We have no questions on number two in the case of Apple products. Yay! Oh, by the way, I can't use the Apple logo here because my partner lawyer, Jim Gopal, says that would be trademark infraction. So sorry, you get a look at the quasi-Apple Apple. The fix is underway. Again, we could see on the Apple's website for CVMP and their FIPS validations that they're in process. We can also cross-reference over to the NIST website and see that they're there. And Apple is underway for FIPS 140-3 hardware certification for macOS. So they've taken it up again to that next level tier where we really want to see tighter levels of security. So FIPS validated vulnerabilities for us, we're taking this a little bit out of order so you can see how the rest of this works. We go to the cvedetails.com. This is a great website that you can now parse, dig, detail, filter through. And in this case, we've looked at Apple and we want to see the CVS score that's in a greater order of 9 or higher. Again, to us, they're critical at that point in time. And we then want to order them based upon that CVE score. So we can see some in here that are already 9.8 and can't show it very well, but if we were to go way down further on the page, there's actually ones with known vulnerabilities. Oh, crap, they've been exploited. All right, now we know why we're doing what we're doing. So we've now got the proof, we got the vulnerability, we have to document this. Now, as a part of that, next step really is the documentation. Please remember, CMMC is still in place. So are the cybersecurity FAQs of the procurement toolbox. Specifically, Q&A 59 addresses FIPS-validated vulnerabilities. You are required and should have a risk registry entry. We do. And you can see that right here. And again, this one identifies that, hey, we have critical vulnerabilities. This is specific to our Apple devices and technically our Windows 11 if we ever really truly ever deploy Windows 11, because again we're rolling out against trying to keep things patched as fast as we can, and then we're going to maintain visibility on the status of the CVMP. The next part is for documentation. You do need to have that operational plan of action. Now, an operational plan of action is, think of a POAM without the milestones. There is no time dependency on this. So you need to define how the OPO is created, how are you going to continue to evaluate it, and then set up a recurring task for doing this. Now, we use FutureFeed to do this, which is really great for us because we can go into that task assignments right up there, and we can create a recurring task. In this case, I have to come in on a quarterly basis as the CISO, and I go in and I look and I log in and I pull up the latest from CVE, see what's new, and I'm monitoring this on an ongoing basis anyways. Patches are coming out, so pretty well aware of what's happening with Apple. And then, so we copy and paste those CVEs into the document. So we've got a reference of why we're saying what we're saying. And then you see on the notes on the right-hand side, I'm basically saying we're going to remain on non-validated operating systems to protect the CSI. For us, your information is confidential and sensitive information. We don't handle CUI. Now, lastly, you need to cite that reason and the OPA in your write-up. In this case, for us, again, FutureFeed does a little weird with A, so ignore A. B is the actual assessment objective. We're claiming a temporary deficiency. We're citing the regulation for the use of FIPS-capable hardware and software not running FIPS-validated configuration due to vulnerabilities. This is identified in a risk registry again, okay. The plan of action will continue monitoring for websites, okay. And those are the key websites that we are monitoring. Okay, easy peasy. And guess what? DIBCAC gave us a big thumbs up on this. So let's sum up on this. Peak InfoSec passed our DIBCAC assessment with Apple macOS and temporary deficiencies. So this can be done for both. So to claim a temporary deficiency, you must, in this case for FIPS, use FIPS-capable components. You cannot claim a temporary deficiency while using something that's not FIPS-capable. You must be able to demonstrate the vendor has a plan to get CMMC validated. We used a critical software vulnerability that stops you from using that validated version, and then document the issue in your risk registry, OPA, and system security plan. So that's all. Thank you all for joining us for As the CMMC Churns, and we will catch you next time when something really becomes interesting and worthy of talking about. Bye.